Hello there, thanks for tuning in to News Now on TV360 Nigeria. I am Annetta Felix. Well, the drama surrounding Lagos APC governorship primary is far from over. In the early hours of the day, supporters trooped to their different wards to cast their ballot in a supposed election. But hours later, results started trickling in, showing Sanwo-Olu in a huge lead. But supporters of Ambode insist they were victimized and prevented from voting for their preferred candidate.
As of today, I don't think the legit, transparent, free and fair election was conducted. We heard about Bariga, where they were using canes, guns, to chase people out of their polling units. It's very bad.
That they know you are doing that, but they will not allow you to vote. Yes. Yes. So there's nothing like election in Lagos, sir. Yes. Yes.
Well, despite their grievances, the Lagos State Party chairman of APC, Tunde Balogun, insists that the process was free and fair.
Election took place generally in Lagos State today. Some of you have records which you could show to anybody. Elections took place in all the wards, APC wards. I could see at Ashiwaju's ward, who is the national leader of APC, was visible there, and you had the result. Most of you have this on record, and I want to assure Lagosians that those results, by the grace of God and according to the provisions of the Constitution, all the results were recorded by and signed by all the agents of the two aspirants. And INEC witnessed the election. Yes. So you will see this, and you, of course, some of you are witnesses there, and you have it on record. So I want you to know, as the APC chairman in Lagos State, that those elections were free and fair and transparent, because you saw people who participated there.
And minutes after Balogun's declaration, the chairman of the election panel set up by the National Working Committee of the APC said they were not carried along in the exercise. They have now rescheduled the election to a later date.
First and foremost, yesterday we held a stakeholders meeting. Certain decisions, certain submissions were made. On the basis of those submissions, I contacted the national headquarters. The national headquarters asked the committee to adjust the procedure in line with the demands of the preponderant position. Now, having done that, we now had to reach out to the party executive to submit lists that could be utilized for the purpose of posting officials to supervise the elections. Those lists only arrived about an hour ago. And so anything that was done without the list that we wanted, because we wanted harmony. And I told you, we are more interested in harmony than in victory. So we had to wait for them. There was no way I could have gotten up at 8 o'clock, sat down in this place and waited for almost 9 hours without anyone, in fact about 10 hours, call it about 8-9 hours, without getting anybody, and then I go ahead and do something. That is that's only real. I mean, it is only fair that when you don't see one party, you have to wait and be patient. We're waiting for the state chairman of APC to provide certain information that would enable us post people. And we told you, because we had two aspirants, we needed to be fair to both parties. That information came in barely an hour ago, and we had to struggle through this period to at least balance the equation. So now that we are ready, like I said, we will contact the national headquarters and we will all be informed exactly when to release the materials. We have five people from the local organizing committee, 4 from each ward, and these people will all go out to conduct elections. You know the terrain of Lagos, the traffic situation, taking all that into consideration. We will schedule a time when we will release those materials and we'll all be in the no. Materials are here, you can see. These are result sheets and all of that. They are in impeccable condition. Not one single sheet is missing, and it is not possible for this committee to do anything other than what we have been instructed to do. We have guidelines, and we will stick to those guidelines and try as much as possible to be fair to all parties. I am the product of an election that was open ballot in those days, and I knew that it helped us a great deal.
Meanwhile, in Imo State, the APC has suspended the governorship primary in the southwestern state. The suspension of the primary comes hours after Uche Onwosu, an in-law to current governor Rochas Okorocha, was declared winner in a controversial fashion. While his victory was approved by all members of the election committee, except Chairman Ahmed Guluk, who has since been declared missing. The battle for APC governorship ticket in Imo is one of the most controversial, pitting Onwosu against Hope Uzodinma, his serving senator and current deputy governor Eze Madumere. However, in Cross River, John Oana, representing Cross River Central Senatorial District in the National Assembly, has emerged winner of the All Progressives Congress gubernatorial primaries. The chairman of the election committee, Ali Magaji, while announcing the result on Tuesday in Calabar, says Owaneno scored a total of 82,272 votes out of the 101,212 votes cast, defeating Edem Duke, a former Minister of Culture and Tourism and the Minister of Niger Delta Affairs, Usani Usani. Meanwhile, in Bauchi State, incumbent Governor Muhammad Abdullahi Abubakar has emerged winner of the primaries, defeating 3 other aspirants who had earlier described the exercise as a charade. While announcing the result of the primaries at the APC State Secretariat, Chairman of the Electoral Committee, Ahmed Bokari Mohammed, declared that Muhammad Abdullahi Abubakar polled a total of 75,086 votes to emerge winner of the contest. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has now postponed the weekly Federal Executive Council meeting scheduled for Wednesday. The FEC meeting is a weekly gathering of cabinet ministers, the president and his vice. However, this week's meeting coincides with the ongoing primaries in the APC. There are still some unfinished governorship primaries, while those for the Senate, Federal and State House of Assemblies are expected to be concluded before Friday. The National Convention is to hold on Saturday, and the deadline for submission of candidates is Sunday, October 7. Now, ahead of the PDP presidential primary, the Atiku support group has launched a 3-point agenda on why the former vice president should emerge the flag bearer of the party. The PDP primaries is expected to hold on the 6th and 7th of October 2018 in Port Harcourt, where the party will pick its presidential candidate. The group say they believe in the ideals and programs of Atiku Abubakar and is willing to educate the delegates on the need to vote Atiku as the party's candidate. Well, away from
because we found out that among the candidates vying for the presidential ticket of PDP is a man that have the three cardinal points that can touch the aspect of impact of Nigerians, which have to do with restructuring, they have to do with uniting Nigerians, and also somebody that can fix our economy. And Atiku stand in those 3 parts of those aspects of Nigerians. We are all young, dynamic people from various ethnic groups, and we come together with our intellectual capacity to provide solutions to Nigerians, because we cannot just sit our hands and fold our hands and expect our leaders to take us to backward of what we are doing. And that is why we are coming on board to support the candidate that we feel can also look to our yearnings and look to our aspiration, because Nigerians are educated people, we are hard-working people. We need leaders that have the same version of thinking of what we are thinking out. We need a leader that can also go into the ICT. We need also a leader that can also give talent. The talent people in Nigeria is enormous. We need leaders that can harness their potentials. And that is why we on the Atiku movement is to project all these activities. And we believe in person of Atiku to take us to that promised land.
Atiku is a man who we can confidently say he can connect us to the future that we so much desire. Nigeria has been blessed so much by God, and I believe strongly the ideas we have put up here will be able to convince these delegates to make the right choice.
Well, away from primaries, a federal high court in Abuja has struck out a suit by the Inspector General of Police, Ibrahim Idris, seeking to stop the Senate from inviting him for a legislative hearing. The presiding judge, Justice John Soho, ruled that the IG's excuse for not honoring the Senate's invitation was not tenable. The judge says he agreed with the Senate and its president, Bukola Saraki, who were the two defendants, that the suit was only aimed at preventing the Senate from carrying out its constitutional responsibility. The Senate had, in a letter dated April 25, 2018, invited the IG to appear before it in relation to the purported inhuman treatment of the Kogi West Senator Dina Malayi and the killings in many other parts of the country, including Benue, Plateau, and Kwara states. A civil society organization is asking Nigerians to ensure they hold the government to account. Edwards Ayodele, the executive director of the Reclaim Godly Values Foundation, wants Nigerians to not just focus on the federal budget alone, but also on state budgets and find out how monies are distributed in the various states. While on her part, Chinwe Karawa, the Deputy Director Special Duties of the Nigerian Orientation Agency, charges Nigerians to use their right on freedom of information to get valuable information on how public funds are being spent.
I discovered something recently. I went online to check projects that have been executed under the World Bank in Nigeria. And I realized that so many projects that state governments are claiming to be their own projects were actually financed by international partners. So we ask citizens, not just only for the federal government, to go to their states and demand the budget that are passed. Nobody's talking about the state budgets, and I don't know why. We're always talking about what is happening in Abuja. The states have budgets. Local government have budgets. Different ministries have budgets. So I look forward to this budget that is being implemented, and Nigerians will begin to ask questions.
The freedom of information says that there should be a proactive disclosure of what the budget is, the ABCD of the budget, and if that budget is not fully implemented, you should also post it that this budget has been implemented 50% or 70%. Proactive disclosure on your website so that anybody does not even need to come to your office to ask you.
President Muhammadu Buhari is paying tribute to the Nigerian soldiers fighting insurgency in the northeast. Buhari, in his Independence Day address, also pledged his commitment to ensuring that their welfare remains his utmost priority. The president also assured he will look into complaints of inadequacies in relation to their entitlements and welfare of their families.
There has been a steady improvement in the security situation in the northeast. We remain committed to ending the crisis and make the northeast safe for all. Our thoughts and prayers are always with the victims of Boko Haram's atrocities and their families. Beyond that, we know that the goals of the Boko Haram terrorists include capturing territories, destroying our democracy, and denying our children the right to education. We will not allow them to succeed. I want at this point to pay tribute to the men and women of our armed forces, the police, and other security and law enforcement agencies who have been working under the most difficult conditions to keep the country safe. In the process, many have made the supreme sacrifice. As their commander-in-chief, I assure these our gallant men and women that I will continue to empower them by deepening their professionalism and providing all the necessary force multipliers and enablers required for them to prevail on the field. I am looking into all reported cases of inadequacies in relation to their entitlements, their welfare, and those of their families.
You're watching news now on TV360 Nigeria. There's more in just a moment.
Corruption not in my country.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, madam.
My name is Alero. I am not sick. I just need you to help put your stamp on this medical report. I want to tender it at my office as a sick leave. I'll pay 10,000 naira.
Ma'am, that is impersonation. I'm not a doctor.
Oga, be like say this English no go pay. I go increase the money to 20,000 naira. I beg. You know, if I give you that 20,000, as you wide, so you know, if it still help your condition more. So you know, say you spread well.
As I spread like virus, I'll be.
You talk.
Come out! If person come to your hospital, talk to make you give a fake medical report, make you go take collect sick leave. Talk and say no, not corruption. Not in my country.
Corruption not in my country.
Stop corruption now.
You're welcome back. Let's talk business now with the expert, Esther Vese. Hello, Esther.
Hi, Aneta.
So I hear that the politics of Nigeria at the moment is affecting the economy of the country. Please tell us, just how bad is this?
Well, actually, the latest data from the Central Bank of Nigeria is showing that the nation's foreign exchange reserves fell by $1.457 billion in September. Now, the external reserves, which stood at $45.838 billion at the end of August, declined to $44.380 billion in September 2018. Now, figures from the Central Bank of Nigeria had earlier revealed that the reserves, which had continued to go down in recent months, fell by $47.11 billion in July to $46.128 billion in August 2018. Now, the CBN, however, notes that the evolution of the forex market in the country had been influenced by a number of factors, such as changing pattern of international trade, institutional changes in the economy, and structural shift in production. Now, U.S. oil prices hit their highest level since November 2014 on Tuesday, as markets prepared for tighter supply once U.S. sanctions against Iran kick in next month. U.S. crude futures marked $75.09 a barrel, while Brent crude futures were at $85.28 a barrel, up 30 cents. And that was not far off from the $85.44 peak reached in the previous session, the highest since November 2014. Sentiment was lifted by a last-gasp deal to salvage NAFTA as a trilateral pact between the United States, Mexico, and Canada, rescuing a $1.2 trillion a year open trade zone that had been about to collapse. Now, more fundamentally, all markets have been pushed up by looming U.S. sanctions against Iran's oil industry, which at its most recent peak this year supplied almost 3% of the world's almost 100 million barrels of consumption. And our telecommunications company MTN Nigeria is exploring ways of getting the public to trade its shares without listing on the Nigerian Stock Exchange via initial public offering. MTN's Chief Financial Officer, Ralph Mupita, says the company will not get a fair price for its shares under the current market conditions. MTN recently had a dispute with the Central Bank of Nigeria, and that was over an alleged repatriation of $8.1 billion using irregular certificates of importation. And now we're going to take a quick look at today's trading at the equities market. Trading session at the NSE to join in the celebrations of Nigeria's independence. The equities market kicked off the week's trading today, Tuesday, with the bears chasing the bulls out of the market following Friday's not-so-firm stance in the market. As we observed last Friday, the trading session closed with a 0.01% rise in major market indicators. Now today, we have the bears dragging us into a negative territory, with the market capitalization now down at 11.942 trillion naira. The top four gainers for today's trading session were Forte Oil, Unilever Nigeria, WABCO, and GlaxoSmithKline. On our losers chart, we have Stanbic IBTC, Cement Company of Northern Nigeria, Guinness Nigeria PLC, and Nestle. Now, what's interesting on this chart is the Stanbic and the Cement Company of Northern Nigeria actually were on the NSE's top 10 price gainers list from last week's trading session. So we actually see from the whole of last week's session, Stanbic IBTC and the Cement Company of Northern Nigeria actually did well, but apparently they're starting this week on a negative note, so hopefully by tomorrow things will change for them. And Guinness actually was one of 10 price decliners from last week's trading session was recorded for Guinness. Now, if we move on, we see our top traders session. From our top traders, the equities we have here for SCMB, Guarantee Trust Bank, Zenith, and Fidelity Bank. Guarantee Trust Bank and Fidelity Bank were the two equities out of 3 that recorded most trade-ins for the whole of last week's session. And now if we look at our summary, we see over 184 million shares valued at over 3 billion naira were transacted in over 2,000 deals. Now we're going to take a quick look at the global market, stock market, and we'll see FTSE, Dow Jones, and Nikkei, that's the London, American and Asian Stock Exchange, closed with in the same territory they closed last week Friday. We saw on Friday FTSE was in the red, Dow Jones was in the green, and Nikkei was also in the green. So that's all I have for you, Anita.
Thank you so much for that update, Esther. Well, moving on, there are more news coming up in sports and on the foreign scene. Please stay with us.
Corruption not in my country.
Hello? Yeah, I found your wallet in front of a supermarket. Meet me at Apple Junction. Yes, I'll be waiting for you.
Now we find out. 2 of us.
Thank you very much, officer. You know, it's surprising that men like you still exist in the police force.
Yes, so... Oh, yes.
This is just a token of my appreciation.
Oh, no, you don't need to do this. We're only doing our job.
Thank you very much. God bless you.
You're welcome.
Now I know police is really my friend.
Yes.
Friend. Hey. Which came up with this one? I don't understand.
You know your problem. You are greedy. I'm a policeman who is doing his job. All forms of corruption in the force. Not in my country.
Corruption not in my country.
At least 44 people lost their lives during a weekend fighting between rival ethnic groups in western Ethiopia. The state-affiliated media says the clashes occurred on the border between the central Oromia and western Beni Shango Gumuz regions. Eyewitnesses say violence began when officials from Beni Shango Gumuz were killed by unidentified gunmen, while the clashes between rival ethnic youths armed with rocks and knives reportedly forced tens of thousands of people to flee their homes with security forces deployed to pacify the area. At least 34 migrants died while 26 others survived in a shipwreck in the western Mediterranean, the United Nations Migration Agency declared while citing the Moroccan Navy and a Spanish aid agency. The spokesman of the International Organization for Migration IOM, Joel Millman, while confirming this, said the boat had been floating since Sunday with 60 people aboard. He says the information came from the Moroccan Navy and a Spanish non-governmental organization, Caminando Fronteras. At least 13 people were killed and 30 others were wounded after a suicide bombing ripped through an election rally in Afghanistan's Nagar province on Tuesday. All officials say the bombing occurred at a parliamentary election rally for candidate Abdul Nasser Mohammed in the Kama district of Jalalabad city. Provincial government spokesman Atullah Koingani confirmed the attack, saying further details will be released after an ongoing investigation. The president of the Confederation of African Football, Ahmed, is in Cameroon for a meeting with President Paul Biya as the Central African state awaits the final decision on the hosting of the 2019 African Cup of Nations. The CAF Supremo and his delegation, including Second Vice President Constant Amari and Cameroon football legend Samuel Eto'o, landed in Yaoundé on Tuesday morning, while they were received on arrival by the Cameroon Minister of Sports and Physical Education, Bedong Mpat. Ahmed's trip to Cameroon comes 3 days after the Continental Soccer Body said it had deferred the final decision on whether Cameroon will host the 2019 AFCON. Police in Las Vegas have reopened a criminal investigation at the request of a woman who has alleged in a civil suit that global football star Cristiano Ronaldo sexually assaulted her in 2009. Last week, attorney Leslie McStovall filed a complaint in Clark County District Court alleging that Ronaldo assaulted his client Catherine Mayorga in a Las Vegas hotel room on June 13, 2009. Police now say they have responded to the sexual assault call on the date Mayorga is alleging in her civil suit, but said the victim did not provide detectives with the location of the incident or the suspect description at the time, though a medical exam was conducted. Well, that's the latest around the world at this time. Thanks for watching News Now on TV360 Nigeria. I am Annetta Felix. Bye for now.